Good day, I'm Rocky, and this presentation is about the Cthulhu Iris Bottom Fed Mesh RDA. I will be demonstrating how I install and adjust the vertical mesh coil and how I wick it. To prepare the atomizer for a single vertical mesh coil, I first have to remove the center squonk pipe and readjust the positive post to set beside the negative post. Being able to reposition the positive post is what makes this such a flexible atomizer. After adjusting the positive post, I can reinstall the squonk pipe and then move on to installing and adjusting the mesh coil. For this build, I'll be using 500 mesh stainless steel 316. As you can see, this 500 mesh is fine enough to tear easily. And I'll tear off a length of it wide enough to fill the clamps on the post. At this point, I'm not too concerned about the width, but more focused on the length I will need to create the preferred loop size. What I want is for the loop to be halfway between the center squonk pipe and the inner edge of the build deck. For me, that is about the smallest diameter I like to work with because it leaves plenty of space for the cotton wicking without having to use a large amount. It also leaves some space at the bottom for excess e-juice to pool and feed the bottom of the wick. Next, I will glow the mesh to stabilize the resistance. I've found that if I don't include this step, the end results will be a resistance much lower than what I intended. So I will glow to stabilize the mesh and often will trim the width, making it narrower to raise the resistance. I've found that when the build is complete, wicked and juiced up, the resistance will drop a couple of hundredths of an ohm. So I compensate for that by adjusting the resistance of a dry mesh coil a little higher than my target resistance. With my loop size and resistance set, I can now turn my attention to wicking. I prefer to use cotton pads, and for the wicking, I will cut a length wide enough to span the distance from the bottom of the deck to the top of the post. I cut the pad across the grain, so the strands will be vertical when installed. For me, this gives the best and quickest saturation and adequately feeds a thirsty mesh coil. I have considered removing the squonk pipe, wrapping the wick around it, and reinstalling it as an assembly, but for now I much prefer to use a drinking straw. Once the wicking is wrapped around the straw, I can simply push the straw down over the top of the squonk pipe and wrap the mesh around the cotton plug and secure it with the clamp. What I'm after is a cotton plug large enough to fill the mesh loop and tight enough to require firm pressure against it to hold it in place while clamping. Once this is done, I can remove the straw and move on to adjusting and juicing the wick. As you can see, I'm very particular about my builds, making sure the cotton wick is touching all of the mesh coil. This may seem like overkill, but once juiced up, the plug will swell and help ensure no dry or burn hits. I will typically run a build for 5 or more days before either rebuilding or re-wicking, and this process lessens my worry about burn hits and provides a satisfying, flavorful vape with dense clouds. I much prefer higher resistance builds at a lower wattage that saves battery life. I usually run my builds with just the bottom airflow open and around 0.3 ohms and 40 to 50 watts. Doing so gives me a lot of headroom. I can always crank up the power for warmer vape and denser vapor if desired, and still not overstress my batteries. The top cap of the Iris is a bit of a strange beast. It has dual offset holes evenly spaced around its entirety, and the AFC ring allows you to cut off the top set of holes and use only the bottom ones. Fully open, this provides a loose, airy draw that produces a cooler vape and lots of vapor. But I have found, for me, a wide open airflow needs a lower resistance build and a higher wattage to enhance the flavor. The Cthulhu Iris is a very flexible atomizer. You can not only use vertical mesh, but also vertical and horizontal coils with a little imagination. Check out their website at cthulhumod.com and Instagram postings under Cthulhu Mod. They have a large gallery of all their atomizers and some very interesting variations on builds. Once again, we have reached the end. If you like what you see, please subscribe and feel free to offer comment and provide constructive criticism. I'm always looking to improve my presentations and learn new ideas. Thanks again for your time, and as always, be safe and have a vape day.